Hello, hello, and welcome to another wonderful episode of Submitted for Your Approval, the weekly show where we talk about accepted submissions into the collective card game and submissions that might make it in next week. I am joined, as always, by my faithful co-host, Grief.
Howdy, folks. Today with Eldermouse came in the background.
And we also have with us today a very special guest, a pretty good friend of the community, and I know I really like him. Grief really likes him. We have I Eat Cannibals, or Cannibals for short, I think. Is that okay?
That is totally fine, yeah.
Okay, Cannibals.
Hello there.
He is the realm admin for Aesthetica, the beautiful cyberpunk dystopia realm, and the creator of the neon cards from that realm, which y'all might know. So yeah, without any further ado, let's get into it. So a couple cards from the accepted submissions I wanted to talk about. Glitzmelon. This is 5-drop mind food from nowhere in particular. And it has gain 4 mana and feed the fed units gain ward until the end of the next turn. So this is a combo piece for King combo, but could also possibly spawn some other combos. I know that Tahazar posted a similar design a month ago that did the ward until the end of the next turn on a feed. It was like blowing bubbles or something. Why is this version the version we got, and what is this good for?
Maybe because it's pleasant to look at.
It is pleasant to look at. Apra, you did really great on the art here. I enjoy it. You said, we talked a little bit about this before the show. We try not to do that so we can get all of our conversation here. But what do you think is going to be like the main use case for this, Grief?
As you already mentioned, or as MT already mentioned, it is in his weekly card review of the cards that made it into the game. Glitzmelon is basically just a combo card. You're never really playing it for the feed effect alone. You're basically just trying to get a discount on its mana cost via KM or other means and use it as pseudo ramp or a big higher costing attune. And combo off from there. You could probably use it in King combo. I don't know why I'm so eliminated in this episode, but okay, who cares? You're just using it as either to combo off and protect your tools, because now everything gets void until the end of turn, or you're ending on stuff like Dreamer and other weird game-ending cards. But yeah, outside of that, you're not really using it for anything else.
Yeah, so you want to win this turn, ideally, or you want to get a lot done this turn.
Exactly. Especially since due to the ward, you're usually protecting every tool that you're now dropping in this turn until the end of the next turn. So your opponent either needs to have a lot of interaction or multiple board wipes or whatever to actually break your board. This feels a little bit Yu-Gi-Oh-esque, where you actually have to get through multiple layers of disruption, and basically this is one layer of it.
Okay. Cannibals, any thoughts?
I never caught any of the discussions about this card on the Discord server, so I'm not exactly sure what its use cases are, but I think many people wanted to have more of good 5-cost mind cards or mind actions in the game, especially now that we have the Sky Commander. So we can play Sky Commander and activate him. Then we are already at 11 mana just from natural mana, and then we go up to 15 mana in that turn. So I play a lot of units just for the beatdown. So it's more or less a combo turn, but it doesn't have to be like one of the already established combos. It can go can maybe go into a deck that has a mid-range beatdown plan with this combo finish in the but as soon as we can drop the Sky Commander up here.
Yeah, it's actually funny that this works pretty well with astronauts. With Pier, and use Pier to get this out, and then get Dan out to buff all your astronauts in your Pier. Except the feed won't trigger except on Dan himself. Yeah. So this is interesting, and I'm glad to see more support for combo because I like seeing archetypes like that. Lizabo Scout is a 1-drop strength 2/1 Lizabo from Unguia. I never got that one right. Whenever draw a Lizabo and lose this ability. So you get a one time only. It's a delayed per lock, except you can get any sort of Lizabo off of it. Neat. Cannibals, you get us started this time. What do you think about this?
I think it's really cool, and I already told Grief that if he didn't choose it, then I would. So just to talk about it here, because like Lizabo have always been like really close to being like a really strong contender. Like they've always been like a deck that you could play, but you'd rather not because there were other better options. But I think Lizabo Scout does a good job at being an early aggressive unit, but also not losing out on card advantage against the other mid-range or control decks. I think it's a great, and it can be used as a tutor as well. Yeah. If you just have one other as a fourth copy, not really a tutor, but as a fourth copy of another big Lizabo, like for control.
Yeah, and that's these dedicated draw effects are always kind of weird because it's like you want it to function like a tutor, but that means you're not running it in the deck that's dedicated to what it's supposed to do. But I think a lot of decks would be happy just drawing more Lizabo off this, and that's all they. I mean, that's a noble goal, I think.
It could be that you only play this one and like the Firestarter maybe in an aggressive deck, and that's it.
I think it's funny that a lot of these archetypes are getting these tools they need, but not from the archetype completionists. There's just a bunch of random one-off designs that are finally like giving these archetypes like that last little push that they need. Grief, what do you think of this one?
Actually, I'm really happy to. Sorry, I'm actually quite happy to see Lizabo Scout or a consistency tool for Lizabos because they were really starved for one. The only tutor they have is Pathfinder on Legacy, and that's a 5-drop, so it's quite late, and also they are a little bit starved for 1 and 2 drops that do stuff that outside of Frenzy or dueling. And seeing another 1-cost unit, especially since we now have Sharpshoot in the game, especially for standard, it could trigger, make it work out for Lizabo's aggro and standard. For Legacy, this basically finds a place in this Lizabo deck because, as I said, we want more consistency tools, and sadly enough, we cannot run Pathfinder in the Legacy Lizabo deck because it just drops far too late. Now we just need to hit once with it, or give it a Rapier or the Shurikens. Okay, Firestarter is a better target for those, but now that Draft gets removed, we can finally fill up our hand a little bit more. So it's actually a really decent unit and a good curve filler.
Yeah, because especially like first of all, rip Draft. I know Grief is fine with seeing it go. I am heartbroken, and I have been like crying in my room for the past couple days about Draft being gone in the next season. It's not gone yet, except for KM, I guess. I might just start playing KM. But it's interesting to see how you're right. This is very important to talk about in the wake of possibly losing Draft, because we're going to have less card advantage now. And so decks like aggro are really going to suffer because they already have problems. They run out of gas. So this tool is really what they needed. And I commend Space Turtle for identifying that that's, a potential problem down the line. Now this one, people are very weird about this card. I love this card. I know, but let's just talk about it. Bitter Dwarf is a 1-drop strength 3/3 dwarf from Vanarad, the Realm of the Dwarves. Before combat, this card is exhausted unless it's damaged your opponent or your opponent has more max mana than you. So there are 3 things to get this off, actually. You found a way to ping it, or your opponent decided to do you a favor. You lost mana, which is what the Bannerad Dwarves do, or your opponent gained mana, which is what you could do with like Crystallize and Control Brick or something like that, maybe. And so it is very much a dwarf card, but you can also do all these other cool things with it. My combo, that's not really a combo, is if you draw into one of these and you have flips already out, you can do a cool thing with Hot Fries. The art is beautiful, and I think this can slot into a lot of different decks. What do you think, Grief?
It's the best friend of Night Shift Merchant.
Oh yeah. That is crazy with Night Shift Merchant.
Give it generate first, then probably, or even duelist first, then flying. Yeah, and we're looking at a 5-1 or a 5-3 if we count regenerate first. That's still attacking in the air, which is nice.
Yeah.
I love this card from the very first time it got submitted because it's a dwarf card that isn't just play dwarves or bust.
Yeah.
Which is usually the problem with most dwarf cards. And I'm always a fan for more multifaceted tools, especially when they are meant for the aggro niche. So any unit or any card that maybe is dropped on turn 2, or one drop that basically says, okay, deal damage or 1 damage to a friendly unit or stuff like that, now interacts with Bitter Draft and enables it when it's dropped on turn 1, and Haldem is a little bit starving for good 1-drop units.
Yeah. So yeah, very versatile. You and I are big fans of versatile cards.
Also, kind of funny, plays well into Cat into Frying Pan.
Oh yeah. This is a 1-drop that can interact positively with Pancat. Because your Pancat has to hit something.
So your opponent won't probably
drop
this on this one.
Yeah, if you're on initiative and drop this, Pancat sheds a tear. Which maybe that's why it worked this time, is in the Pancat. Because it didn't do so well the first time, which is ridiculous. Or I think it hit midweek. And then it dropped off for some reason. I don't know. I was really sad to see that happen. And then I'm so glad that the ACT reposted this. Cannibals, what do you think about it?
I think it's a very, very cool card. The art is obviously great. But I think it's not really suited for the dwarf stack. Like, ideally you want like the you can't play it out early because like it does really nothing for the dwarf stack. It can't block the bullock swarms. Like it can compete with a 3 HP to like deny some dart XP procs, but other than that, it's like it's really difficult to activate in dwarves. Like there's like the 1-drop, the Amethyst Miner, who decreases your max mana, but as soon as the opponent like fireballs it, he disables like 2 of your units, like 2-for-1s you basically, because you get the mana back. And the next card that reduces your mana is it's either like Leveler on turn 4, or the Mountain Griffin Mount on turn 5. So like you can play your own Cat with a Frying Pan and have this little combo, like a 1 mana 3/2 is not that exciting to play in dwarves, I think. But maybe as a 1 or 2 off, like when you have the cost reduction lords out and you draw like 4 or 5 cards with your Khazriks, then you can like just add it to the board, and at this point you're usually behind on mana, so it is active immediately, but it's not really a good early drop for dwarves.
Yeah, so maybe in that 1 mana slot it's not as great. I do agree with your assessment there, but bear in mind 1-drops are not just your 1-drop. So yeah, they can also provide some additional aggro later down the line, but hopefully dwarves are already winning by then.
So I think it's better in like self-ping decks than it is in dwarves.
Yeah. Okay.
Most probably.
Now, I noticed one kind of thing when I was looking down this list, and that's actually that we have a couple fairly new players who have been doing some really, really great work on submissions. And I wanted to make sure I actually stole a pick off of Grief's list and put it onto my list because I wanted to make sure this was the first new submission we talked about. Komodo Commando by Cornmeal. It is a 5-drop Spirit 2/4 Lizabo from nowhere in particular. Summon, create 2 Lizabo fledglings, and your other Lizabo have deadly. What is a Lizabo fledgling, you ask? It is a 1-drop Spirit 1/1 Agile Lizabo. Cool. So we have a Tribal Lord, but it also has the 2 little guys, and so you don't need it to be a Tribal Lord. I'm very content to just have 3 things with, 2 things, I guess, with deadly, and Agile. And just spook people. I don't know. Let's talk about this group. Do you think this is what Lizabo needs?
I like this card a lot. There's a funny story behind Komodo Commando. First of all, I love the name. Because I've just checked the subreddit the other day, just 2 days ago, and stumbled over the art and just said, man, I like this artist. Oh, it's also a new person. Well, let's read the card. 5 cost 2/4. That's pretty terrible stats for the cost. And yeah, it puts 2 dudes into play. For me, I personally think it has the wrong tribe, or it is missing 1 tribe. It's missing Undead.
Yeah, because that's the Mirage Lizabo are all undead.
Now, because most Mirage, or all Mirage Lizabo are green. And this dude is working fabulously together with Kingdom, because now if this could have the Undead tribe, it wouldn't kill its own Lizabo fledglings off of the Kingdom trigger. But even without it, it's a pretty good bullock unit that basically allows you to get 2 attacks through regardless, or if they are blocking it, they're basically wasting units against fodders, and every auto Lizabo that you're getting out of it is even more deadly. But regardless of that, I think this design is really neat. Maybe at 4 with a little bit of raw stats, but yeah, if it would be an Undead Mirage Lizabo, oh my god, every little ambush life point unit you're getting out of your auto Lizabos now also has fucking deadly.
So you're thinking this could be a little bit more pushed, basically. And this does need to work with the Mirage package.
Maybe as a 4 cost 1/3 maybe, or 1/4.
Push it earlier because it's on blue.
So, exactly. So because now it's actually is at the same cost spot like Kingdom, which also costs 5. So you have to probably play it anyways before Kingdom currently, and drop Kingdom afterwards, because if you're dropping Kingdom first and play him on turn 6, you're killing your own agile units, and you're reducing his stats, and your opponent gets 3 ambushes with life bond. That's not really a good way to play this card.
Yeah. Cannibals, what do you think about it?
I think it's a really cool card. I can't add that much, to be honest. Like, I think what I like the most about it is, aside from the mechanics, is like how much space there is left to be explored with the Lizabo tribe in general. Like we have like the crocodile style Lizabos from the lizard tip ones, and we have the regular like that were originally in on the original core game, and now we have like the Komodo dragons, and I think there's tons of more stuff. And I was always like one who was a fan of the idea of putting like there's this one pirate that steals the abilities.
Captain Chameleon.
Chameleon, of making him
Lizabo.
Because like all these lizard people, I think they could all be like condensed into one tribe, and that it wouldn't hurt anything about their flavor or whatever.
Yeah,
it would just make the Lizabo tribe even cooler.
A bit more varied.
Yeah, I like how you're making a great point. I like how it's this aesthetic differentiation and adding more flavor to that. And I definitely think that I want to see more cornmeal in both art and design going forward because that art is really pretty.
Mm.
Okie dokie then. Bombegranate. Yeah, I'm doing an Apper plug. Deal with it. Bombegranate is a 2-drop spirit 1/1 plant from Entera with life bond, and once you've gained 4 or more HP in a turn, deal damage equal to the amount healed, randomly split among enemy units, and then blow it up if it wasn't dead already. Or actually, it won't trigger if it's not if it's dead already. Cool. So here's where this is weird, and I criticized this design openly, and Apper didn't get quite where I was going with it. If you have if you're swinging with a Grapes of Wrath, like a 5-something life bonder, your opponent gets to control, or you get to control. Have to play really carefully to control when you're going to gain the right amount of life, because you're going to split the damage among multiple blockers possibly, and it's really, really quirky. We want to find a way to gain a huge chunk of life because it will blow up as soon as you hit 4. The tricky part is, how do you gain a whole bunch of life reliably when tools like the totem are not in standard right now? And I don't really quite know the answer to that. Grief, what do you think of this card? You're looking at me sideways, and I don't like that.
Have you heard about a Lord and Savior, Baleful Pumpkinkin, and the deck that's played around it?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I think this deck can at least get like 7+ HP in a turn.
But the thing is, it's the second you gain that 4th HP when it triggers.
Yeah,
so you gotta time it.
Not really too much. I mean, drop this after Baleful Pumpkinkin or before, and basically splash a lot of damage. Oh, you've gained life even more now. My Pumpkinkin shoots other stuff down. It basically racks up the damage and gives you far more range on your random damage ping. So in this case, it's actually quite a nifty tool for that deck. They got a lot of different ways to actually get 4 HPs reliable, because even a Baleful Pumpkinkin deck has to figure out how it gets HP, because most of the life bond units, just like the Grenade here, don't have 3 attack. So the 3 HP gain to trigger for Baleful Pumpkinkin has to also be balanced, and just to get the 1 more ping to blow this thing off reliable is not that hard in that deck, considering how you actually have to time your Baleful Pumpkinkin.
Yeah. Really fun possible combo with this. If you're sitting there with your Pumpkinkin out in this, I don't know who gets Deadly Nightshade. I don't know if I put it on my Bombegranate and random ping stuff to death, or if I put it on my Pumpkinkin to get the Baleful Nightshade combo. I think the answer is still Pumpkinkin, but I might put it on Bombegranate if I'm up against like a Swarm type board. Cannibals, what do you think of this beauty?
Looks cool. I didn't see it before, so I wasn't really checking the subreddit all too well, I think. Yeah, there's like obviously the dart decks that have like this mini life gain package, but I could also see like as soon as we get like a critical mass of like this I care for life gain stuff cards, that there could be a vampire plant penumbra deck somewhere. You don't have to pay extra for your equipments and still get all the benefits. I think that could be
Cannibals, I just think you triggered Stranger Sights jank alarm by the mention of.
I don't know how much jank it is. As soon as we have like this critical mass of payoffs and enablers, and like both Bombegranate and the Pumpkinkin are both payoffs and enablers, especially if you combine them with strength and all the unit buffs.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, there's tools out there that can do some really cool stuff. Now, we've been talking about a lot of pretty stuff, and rather than switch tracks, let's keep that going. Friendly Smudge is a 3-drop spirit 2/2 ooze from nowhere in particular with summon, choose 2 units, they permanently gain 2 HP. Why I wanted to talk about this. Thrifty Fishing he made like half of our random art sheet or something like that. I know it's not quite that big, but he did a good chunk of it. I love his work, and he's back, guys. He was gone for a while. Something happened with his machine. He's back. I'm happy. This guy's so cute, and I just wanted to show you that. But let's talk about the actual effect. Unburial Site recently came in with a really cool... I didn't think that card was going to take off so much. I just threw it out into the world to see how well it did. Apparently, it was more popular than I expected.
It's also really powerful.
Yeah. It's random. Everyone is like, oh, I hate random. Anyhow, so with Friendly Smudge, we have something that curves into it kind of nicely. Maybe your Sycomancer died turn 1. Can come back and give you a permanent HP buff. So this could, I mean, it's not an undead itself, but it could help a Buluk undead package. Am I wrong in thinking that? Because it's a permanent buff?
Just put it in Buluk in general, and it's have you ever heard about Heartbeat? This is not really a heartbeat, but it's in a similar direction. Just put it on anything in Token Buluk, and he's pretty much happy because now more important stuff can survive.
Yeah.
More easily, but yeah. Could see play in this. I don't really know. It's not a bad card. In general, it has also quite a cute, the cute eyes that are the staple of Blaine's arts.
Yeah.
Not too much of an opinion on that card, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's okay. You're right. Buluk has some survivability problems. We're in the Pan-Cat meta now, and the Pan-Cat meta wants to see stuff that makes his stuff a little bit more survivable. We've already had a lot of stuff that hoses a bunch of 1 HP stuff, and this takes you straight from, you talk about how we have 2 major HP thresholds. We have 1 and 3. Well, now, if you were at 1, you're at 3.
Exactly.
And that's good. Cannibals, what's your thoughts on this?
I think it could be really cool in undead Buluk, and obviously like some more mid-range oriented dart decks, like guarantee those XP procs with the HP buffs. Yeah, I think it could become a staple if it gets in for a lot of decks. Like choosing 2 units means that if you only have 1, you have to choose 1 from your opponent. But I don't think that really matters for most of the decks. Like when you put the 2
up to probably that's probably a goof.
Not exactly. It's a plain card. I think it's on purpose. Yeah, I think undeads with permanent buffs would always be great.
Clans too.
Yeah, plans too, and like this is really good for Buluk against, or for Dart against Mind, especially because like they are limited by the numbers written on their burn cards, and like this will never outscale or rarely outscale something like an Earthquake or a Geschlorp, but it will outscale Mind quite easily. And also strength in many cases if you just wanted to play the 3/3 wolf that duels on summon. Like this will not trade favorably as it would with most other 2 and 3 drops. Like this, that wolf is crazy, but something to fight that wolf is likely to be great in the meta.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. What I like about this design is without any real like force of imagination, I can see how both Baluk and Dat would like to have this card. Like, it's not like, oh, this definitely leans one way. This is like, no, there's a lot of different ways that each hero can take good advantage of the buff because Dat wants more ways to proc his passive and et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, let's talk about this one and another newbie design. Oops. I goofed up the link, guys. Let's search this out real quick. There we go. Dream Crusher. Dream Crusher is a 4-drop mind 5/5 horror from HPL with summon, silence this and an enemy unit and return both to their owner's hand. The art on this, first of all, interesting, weird. So this is really cool. It's a 4-drop silence bounce thing, and then you get to do it again, and then you get a 5/5 unit afterwards. I don't know, Grief, what do you have to say about it? Do you like the art?
About the art is actually evil eye if people know what it's what the cultural or religious implications of that is, what art aside. I like bounce effects, but this is stronger than a normal bounce effects and gives you basically a vanilla unit out of it. This card basically says, okay, good, I create a unit. I create a 5/5 vanilla 4-drop for 4 in hand, while also trying to basically permanently remove the viability of any high-cost unit with a summon or whatever effect, because we have a pretty good track record of butchering or giving high-costed units pretty botched stats for powerful summon or in-play effects or other stuff. So this basically gives your opponent a brick in hand that you have to get rid of.
And that means also Dralogs. Dralogs kind of like this. If you could get their high drop back into their hand, it's going to get
exactly
a little bit more off your mind blow and whatnot.
It's really not a bad card. I could see it in Vitric control decks, especially since you could. It's basically non-destruction removal, so it gets around entomb effects and other kinds of other similar effects, especially also by the regarding neon effects in this regard, because they don't leave play immediately. They are silenced before that.
Yeah. And yeah, because there's so much summon and there's so much entomb kind of stuff going on, this is a way around both, and that also has a couple interesting upsides. What do you think, Cannibals?
I think it's a really cool card. At first, I was really skeptical about it because, like, it reads weirdly. Because, like Grief said, it's basically an action that creates a unit in hand. But I recently checked all the mind units that are currently in standard, and there isn't very much that is above the current vanilla stats. So, and especially now when we lose draft, we lose a lot of card advantage for all the decks, and creating even a plain vanilla unit in hand can be really powerful. Especially if you silence the unit from your opponent, and it's like smaller, or it's like really undesirable to cast it again. So I think it's neat, and it has like a weird niche in mind that hasn't been really tackled before. I think like we had like weird stuff like the dragon, the 5/6 dragon that had to wait like 7 turns or whatever until he became active and so on. But units that are just vanilla stats in mind are really rare, and so I think this is really cool. Even if it takes you 2 turns, but you are also like
You get removal in the meantime.
Also robbing your opponent of 1 turn, so it's like you break even at least.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah,
Funny
I think.
thing, though. Oh, funny thing though, this has all the upsides of a unit. So it can get reduced, gets cost reduced by helping hand, and it can be triplicated.
Why? So I guess.
Have you ever tried to triplicate a cost reduced unit in KM?
Oh, in case
Because
they have that advantage going on. If you could get this to 0, you might be able to get a 0-drop 15/15 with an upside.
That bounces 3 units.
Yeah, so I think probably the source of the low votes here is probably because the power level, and people are probably being babies. You heard it from me first, folks. No, I don't know. Vote for this card. This is a good card. Okay. Let's go back to the Sweetlo gang because everyone loves hearing about them. No, this is Alfie. I love Alfie. I love Wham. The Wham Alfie duo is very near and dear to my heart. Dayling Rogue is a 1-drop spirit 1/2 Dayling from Sweetlo with Deadly. French vanilla time. That 2 HP is obviously an artifact of the Pancap meta. Or just the everything hates on 1 HP units. Cool. Who picked Grief? You picked this one.
Yeah, because it's a really clean 1-drop design for Deadly, which we are funny enough lacking.
We have Nightshade. Okay, I'm going to argue devil's advocate here. Nightshade is 2 Deadly units, and it's only 1 more. Why would I want to run?
Yeah. Have you ever heard about redundancy and consistency, my friend?
Okay. So you're saying this is my 5th Nightshade, basically?
Why do you just want 5th?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a cheap way to efficiently win trades. This is what Typhoid Rats, or in MTG, Typhoid Rats and Friends. There's actually a couple of power cut versions of those now. And those are really cool. Those are really cool cards. Because they win trades and they're efficient.
I mean, it's a 1-drop attacker for Bullock because you don't really want to block this unit. It has 2 HP, so it survives most of the other stuff, also pingers, and it makes combat math pretty awkward. And if you even buff it, it's more of a nuisance because you basically have to spend resources into fodder.
Yeah. And so this is, if you're confident, if your opponent misses their 1-drop, a 2-drop Vampire Fangs on this is fun. I don't know. Cannibals, what do you think about this?
It's like a basic French vanilla unit. I think, like we've mentioned, we are currently lacking in 1-mana deadly units in Spirit, but to me personally, it's not like that big of an issue. Like it's not a hole that needs to be needs to be fixed or something. It's but I think it's a cool card. The art is cool. The flavor text, that all works together very well. So I think.
So you don't want a Typhoid Rats in collective.
I think when I came back and I played the Undead deck, I think there was like 1 week when the Lizabo Journal still had Deadly, and I think it came up like twice in a match that it was actually
it didn't
any significance. And it's also it's a Dayling. It's not an Undead, so it's not really for my deck.
Unburial Site. Yes, it is.
Yeah. But I have to jump through a lot of hoops to get there.
Fair enough.
And by that time, I want my opponent to be dead and not play like Veiled Mothers or Sky Commander Peer or whatever. But it's a cool card, and I think it would be really great for Astral Gauntlet as soon as this gets more active.
Oh, that's a
It's
tough wish.
It's like, yeah. I think it was cool, but I stopped playing because like some of the better players just kept beating me. So I lost my drive to play it. But as soon as there's still hoping. Yeah.
Also, I don't know if this is a typo or if this is a lore thing, but it says cat kiss. So maybe there are cat kai in Sweet Outlaw. I'm gonna make a card.
Have you seen the art? It basically
Yeah,
looks
it's
like
got
a feline Feowin.
Huh. Wait, what?
It looks like a feline Feowin.
Yeah, except it's a day. That's a neat little lore bit if that's a lore bit. I'm going to believe that's intentional.
It is.
It just triggers my hypo senses. Someone should make a cat kiss card now. Okay, yay, Grief plugged my card. Tractor Beam is a 2-drop mind action from Curthian with fast and return a unit to its owner's hand. Grief, you are picking cards we cannot talk about because they're too simple. No, I don't know. Why did I do this? Apra came along with this really sick, awesome purple cow art. And I was like, make that into a tractor beam. He was like, yes. Then I was like, what is this card going to be? Then I came up with this design. So that's the developer side of the story. I'm going to let Cannibals go first on this one.
I don't quite get why it has fast.
Because
like,
what else would it do? I mean, if it just returns a unit to its owner's hand, it's kind of boring. But now you can chain it into like a board wipe, maybe? I don't know.
So, like to protect your own unit, you protect your own unit and then play the board wipe directly after. But even then, like, wouldn't you give your opponent the opportunity to misplay and play another unit before you play your board wipe?
Well, yeah, but this is now less telegraphed. Okay, Grief is this really weird thing with his eyes. So I'm going to let Grief talk now.
Okay, folks. Read the card again. And then tell me what's the difference between all the other bounce effects and this card.
It's two-sided.
It's first of all two sides, and second of all, it's fast. So you can, as you said, you could basically run it. It can also work into uninteractive combos. You can also grab it off of Amnesia Mage, basically playing a fast card into a fast card. If you have any form of a cost reduction, this is a zero-cost bounce effect, unconditional one, and fast with KM, so on and so forth. This card is really fucking good.
I guess bouncing your own Vox is great, and playing it right again if you can manage to get enough mana. But
if you can, any zero-cost unit you're bouncing with is only cost 2 more to play again. It's basically that easy. It's partially quite ridiculous how this turns basically a Amnesia Mage into a 5-cost unit. Because you play a Amnesia Mage the first turn, return with this into your hand. Now you can play it again for whatever else. Goes well with fog effects if we have a fog unit in the future. So you can actually return that back into your hand fast. So before it is even interacted with, you can return Ronin before he gets shot down. This card is ridiculous.
Okay.
How would you return Ronin? Because like Ronin itself doesn't have fast, so.
Well, yeah, but
Ronin itself doesn't have fast, but you can return it into hand and play it quickly again.
You close the window where they have a chance to.
Exactly, you're giving them one less option to actually interact with your Ronin.
It's like a little bit like the old King of the Lost.
Exactly.
You had the choose option to return it to your hand whenever anything entered play. Yeah.
So yeah, this card's a lot more versatile than I thought it was. Maybe this will be my Unburial Site. I don't know why people like the card as much as they did. I had no idea that was going to take off. I just wanted to find a use for this Apra art, and I love bounce spells. And we need more symmetric bounce, and I think that was a good role to play. And, you know, this is a trope I had to do for Carthian sometimes, so. Okie dokie. Speaking of Apra, let's go do more Apra stuff. Bottled Daylight is a 2-drop spirit exclusive action from Swiatlo. Gain 2 XP and then give target friendly unit brilliance. Create a copy of this in hand. So this is trying to be Underlab's Enigma for a deck that wants XP for some reason. Oh, but I create a full-fledged copy. I create the big one. Why is this exclusive? I don't know.
Don't know either. Maybe because you could probably do some really ridiculous stuff with KM because of playing zero cost mind units and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, XP gain in general is pretty strong.
Mm-hmm.
So even just 2 XP gain from a 2-cost card is rather good, and it can actually help you to get into your brilliance trigger, because brilliance, for people who don't know about that keyword, is a trigger that goes off when you level up.
Yeah.
So you could actually play this and that, or
yeah. So it's kind of important to note this in the post. We're gonna lose access to the level up drafts, and so level ups are gonna get boring. I don't really know.
Better. They're
really
getting better. They actually want to rework the late game, so that's. Or the level up system in general. So they are not really getting boring, but they're getting an interesting twist on them. Not just,
so we don't know what's going to change about them yet.
Yeah.
But so with some reasonable assumptions, I could say, like we talked about, we need some way to replenish some of that card advantage we used to have leveling up. This is probably a good way to do this. Apra identifies very interesting niche cases really well of like stuff that I didn't know we needed because I'm not very attentive, I guess. And this is why I love playing with his cards in Sentinels, because he always builds like these awesome tools for Sentinels. And so I think this is cool. I love anything that copies, and this is potentially multiple copies if you're in something that can, or if you're in a particularly fast leveling. I guess you would be Dat probably. I don't know.
That Bullet, because of his 3 attack units, and now you can basically create copies of Belfry with it and other stuff. You could make monkey copies because Bip and Bob can be copied with this.
His level up rewards for that.
Level up rewards in general. What else could you actually do ridiculous stuff with? Probably discard stuff and undeads you want to pitch into your graveyard thanks to Rosa.
Yeah. Cannibals, what's your thoughts on this?
Exactly the same. Like, I prepared my arguments.
Sorry.
But grief took they all out of my mouth.
We'll let you go first next time.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, I think it can be really cool. I remember there was an Ashkurdy deck with Pyramidian Squad, like the 3-mana 2/3 that created a copy of itself in play as with Brilliance.
Pyramid
back in the old days, and that was really, really crazy. If your opponent, either if you had the initiative advantage, or your opponent didn't have like something to kill it, because with the old Ashkurdy you could like go from level 2 to level 3 like in one turn, and so you had like 1 3-mana card produced like 8 power on the board. So that was really crazy, and this could like maybe spark something similar, especially with the undeads. I can really see it being really big there, and also you don't have to attack with all your units anymore when you want to go from from level 2 to level 3, you can activate your Lizabo Channelers, play this card, create copies of brutes or of whatever undead in your hand. Then next turn discard them, and for other effects, and then at the beginning of combat they return with one more attack from your from the level 3. Like this could be really cool, and like for more mid-range oriented undeads list that is more like tries to go the value route instead of the rush you down route.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, Spectres might be able to use this also for possibly discard fodder. That's something I was kind of also gleaning off that. But I do agree this is probably more Baluch oriented than like dad oriented, because you want to copy like a cheap utility thing, ideally. Although you can obviously do some other stuff. I think this is the bottom of your picks. Am I right, Grief?
Yes.
Pain Mage? Okay. So, Pain Mage. Got another cornmeal card coming up, and you notice the signature black is my favorite color style. Pain Mage is a 2-drop mind 1/2 human wizard from nowhere in particular. Whenever a player plays a card, Pain Mage deals 1 damage to them. And let's go read the awesome flavor text on this. Do they laugh to cover the screams or because they enjoy the suffering? Ashgurdy. Okay, that's the end of my commentary. Cannibals, what's your thoughts on this?
Ashgurdy. That's the end of my commentary.
Okay, Grief, you get to talk about this.
Okay, Death in Texas, does that ring a bell?
Oh, yeah.
Stacks?
Oh, this deals damage to whoever plays the card. Still Ashgurdy. But yeah, okay, this is a stacks tool. I like stacks tools. And this is like, oh man, yeah, this isn't gonna do well without my upvote because people are scared of this.
Don't forget to
already
vote
levels. What?
Don't forget to also vote in-game for those cards.
Yeah. Okay, so Ashgurdy already levels up very, very fast by benefit of large EXP jumps. She's gonna level up faster with this thing.
Cannibal, do you remember the good old days of Bad Drawer, or how she was called?
Yes. The Draw Gertie deck.
The Draw Gertie deck.
That was okay. So I know, Grief, you've been building a lot of legacy decks for the fun of it. So that bad drawer was like whenever you draw a card, you take a damage, right?
Exactly. Whenever your opponent draws a card, it deals 1 damage to them.
That with whims is probably a fun thing in legacy.
Exactly. So or was it when you draw a card, Cannibals? I think when
the green one.
The green one
when you draw a card, you gain 1 life, and I don't even know if it's now red or blue. The bad draw pings for 1 whenever the opponent draws.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a legacy point of reference for this card is what I'm getting. And that was a big deal in legacy, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because Ashgurdy levels fast. So is this balanced, knowing all the things we know as players who pay attention?
It actually is pretty balanced because it's also a drawback for yourself, and you cannot really play this in a more spell-sling list unless you consider stuff like the caveat of the 13 trigger
rule
rules.
Of 13.
So
yeah.
this card cannot deal more than 13 damage per turn. That means it triggers for both players combined 13 times. That's also really how Rare Material got around Bib and Bob, because if you're not dying to Bib and Bob because you played because of the rule of 13, you're pretty much good in the winning of that. So you can actually risk card chaining as well. It is a good tech against those decks because now they actually have to get rid of this dude, and it's not that hard for a 2-cost unit. It's basically another version of Bib and Bob that you can play even in that. Now that that's basically just a 3-cost, and I think Bibimbap also is a 3-cost unit, but is a 0/3. This is a 1/2, so you can actually get damage through if you want to attack with it. It's not advisable, but it is possible. On the other hand, in multiples, this hurts a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And now play this with miscount or odd and even.
Audience.
And
Yeah.
now audience even. And now you're having a deck that's now you build a deck that's basically makes spellcasting really damn awkward for your opponent, while you yourself also are playing under the same rules, but you don't really care because you basically build your deck plan around this.
Yeah. But of course, it's in mind. So if you're running this in a mind deck, you have to deal with mind's drawback, which is no life gain.
How you play it like in an actives-oriented deck in KM, for example. So you have do all your stuff with the cards you have already on the board, and your opponent has to keep up with while also taking damage all the time.
Yeah, especially with Shirek, because now this dude gains more HP. So it's basically Mind's version of Bibimbap.
Yeah. And I think that's super interesting. So this is now the start of Cannibals' picks. I'm going to start with Mystic Evaluator. Let's go talk some Hydraxy. Okay. Mystic Evaluator is a 2-drop spirit 1/3 alien from Debello. Oh, I see what Cannibals did here. As ambush and
I didn't know that you put me as a collaborator. So yeah.
If units you control have 4 or more keywords combined, gain +3 EXP. Okay. I already don't like that. So it's not unique keywords. It's if I have 4 units with ambush, it procs, right?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
4 or more keywords combined, but I'm not exactly. To be honest, I'm not exactly sure what combines mean in this case, because if you combine them like in a virtual unit, they would only have 1 keyword because ambush doesn't work in multiples. So
yeah. So the wording's
wording is like a bit. I think I wanted to put this on here as for all the other keyword matters. Develop cards, because I think there's a really cool design space that we haven't. We have like this random keyword generation design space, like all the what they're called, the psychedelics, and everything bred and so on. But it was like all chaotic and had like this these weird floors and ceilings that were like fun for some people, not so much fun for other people.
Yeah. And so it's like a lot of people don't like the random. Variance is a thing that we've been addressing a lot in this show. So the Hydraxy have been trying to move their, which is the name of this alien species, by the way. They've been trying to move into keywords matter. And this is, okay, so this is +3 EXP. This is, I want to level up a little bit faster. This is a, okay, so this is a 2-drop, 1/3 ambusher. Why am I running this over Acoustic Kitty, Grief? I would rather run Acoustic Kitty. My fiance made that card.
Because Acoustic Kitty, if you really want to use it as a blocker, you're losing out on the hand disruption part, which is partially more important now if we're losing draft than it is now, because we're getting so much free card advantage over the course of game. So Acoustic Kitty's power currently is a little bit underwhelming, so it's usually just a blocker. On the other hand, this dude has early game potential and late game potential, and it's always a body. Because even if you can actually use it as a 1/3 blocker, or if you play stuff like undeads or basically any kind of Spirit deck, because Spirit is known for his clusterfucks of keyword hoggers. Even like twice undead generates just 2 to 3 more keywords on its own. So this basically can basically trigger off turn 4 already, which is nice, and is also a blocker. So I can say this in a more mid-rangey dart deck, which sounds weird. Or helps you into your control game anyway, because now you can level up into the late game far faster, and that is well the most powerful level up rewards in the game currently.
Okay, so this is more rewards for like a DAT deck that isn't interested in the hand control kind of game. Okay.
Yep.
And maybe it has one attack, so you can play it in the Penumbra with Mind and all the Dune Walkers.
That is actually really interesting.
Ward and I don't know. Frenzy doesn't count as a keyword, right? It's a trigger word or whatever.
I think it's in the keyword pool. No, it isn't in the keyword pool.
I don't think
so. So if you're running this in the Dune Walker package, there's the one that has Agile off of the bat. There's the one that gives all your units Ward. So if it just counts.
Agile, Ward, Ambush.
Yeah.
And we need something else. But
in Legacy it would be Rebound and Unblockable.
Yeah. But if what it means when it says combined is just count the number of keywords on units, then word guy alone does it, right?
True.
So that is cool. So yeah, I think the one attack matters deck. If you're gonna do Penumbra, one attack matters. This could do something really, really cool.
That's interesting.
Something to think about. Okay, Legion. Let's get biblical with this thing. Legion is a 10-drop strength 2/1 demon amalgam. With summon, fill your board with copies of this unit. Each copy duels a random enemy unit. So this is trying to do strength AoE, which is something we've talked about, I think, before. But like, is this the way to do it? This is giving me like Incendium. Is this good? Tell me why this is good, Grief. Why is this good?
I want to hear Cannibal first in this case, because
okay, Cannibals. Why is this good?
Because it's good because it's too good.
Okay.
Like if this would make it in, you like would just slot it into your decks, because it's like either it creates board or it removes board from your opponent, and you can't really lose with this card. It's like outside of you having not enough mana to cast it, or your board is already full, which are like one is a very good problem to have, and one can't be avoided with high cost cards. Like this has no downside whatsoever. I think it's a really cool concept, but it has I think it's too strong in its current iteration. But I like the concept of board flood and removal in one. Like this could go well in lots of existing strength decks. It could even be a Lizabo that is like a suicide mission type of thing. But I think at 10 mana and fill your board is like too much. But I think there's like a really, really strong potential behind this card that I would like to see explored in the future. This is why I put it here.
See, I'm kind of on the other side of things. I think maybe this is about the power level it should be for a 10-drop. If this was just evaluating cards in a vacuum. But on turn 10, ideally, I have at least half my board, or, I'm holding on to as much of my board as I can. And so I'm going to get less value out of this. And so then what do I get? I get a bunch of 2/1 pingers. This is what Hammer Mage should have been.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. But you don't have to hold on to your board if you have a Legion in hand.
Yeah.
As long as they don't remove it from your hand, like you're golden. You just need to survive and protect your life total. That is all that matters. And as long as they have like 26 or less total HP in game, you can just wipe the board and strength, which is like really great. And every point less that they have in play is like a unit for you. So
if I get only
crazy.
one, if I only have one unit out before I play this, I want it to be Morphine Supreme. No.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Makes sense.
No, that's the ideal situation. Grief, you and I were both giving Cannibals side eye. Why were we doing that?
It's fine because Cannibal thinks it's really strong. You are saying it's a little bit in the middle of the road. I think it's mediocre at best. Because we're talking about a best case scenario with an empty board of 20 damage to units only.
Yeah. Unless I have a Morphine Supreme out.
With best case scenario.
Yeah.
If we're looking at this card on the whole.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're thinking about the heroes that could use it, which is Helden, which does not care about 10 cost unit for the most part, because when you're playing 10 cost units on Helden, you're probably nearly dead. Anyway, and now we're looking at Permo, which has the option of Argos. So we could we have Argos, which is a good board wipe-esque card that can also win you the game because it can hit face. You could play in control Permo. You're playing stuff like you're already putting Earthquake into your deck. And you're playing both at the same cost range of 7, because Earthquake costs 9 in Permo, but you can ramp it out on turn 6 to 7. And that will be the similar case for Legion, but you're getting less of a payoff concerning Legion compared to Earthquake, because you have to set up Legion to be more favorable to yourself instead of just wiping the board as is. Okay, sometimes Earthquake doesn't get the reach, but that's another topic. So why would I actually dump 10 mana if I also could play Wolf Amalgamation? Or if I could get enough damage through, even in the case of stuff like Morphine Supreme, I'm nearly at the turn where my opponent, when it's Witteric, could drop a Nefet on my ass. Or if it's a dart where just 2 turns off, if we're playing it on turn 10, or a couple of turns or more turns off if in dart until we get geschlorped. So compared to those other unit-based board wipes or the board wipes we already have in game, this is really mediocre.
Yeah, so like if I wanted a bunch of like removal, I could play. Say I had a Morphine Supreme out, which is like the thing that makes this really great, right? Yeah. I could play Dan, and Dan is a bunch of targeted high damage removal versus this, which is all over the place against a wide board, at least.
And as I said, even if some of them die, you're basically dying to a Forest to Cinders, a Fallout, maybe a counter Earthquake, and so on and so forth.
Okay, now it's time to talk about Apra again, but also be a little bit mean to Apra because I don't like that this is a kaiju. Spear Shooter is a 5-drop mind 3/6 kaiju fish from Osegarth, and whenever you draw a fish, deal 2 damage to a random enemy unit. So this is Spike Shooter, but bigger, and that's all it's got going for it. Well, thematically. Art is beautiful. Apra always does really great at art. I love the whole derpy look it's got going on. Cannibals, why did you pick this card to talk about?
Because I always thought about reprinting the old Spike Shooter, but I'm like the original like was really dominating the early game when you hit it like early on and you changed some fishes together in your draw steps or with your draw effects. It could really, it was like cat with a frying pan on steroids sometimes. So this one comes out much later, has a slightly bigger ping, but I think this is a lot more fair, and it's also better for the for more mid-range oriented fish deck that doesn't try to go all in on the board, play Lord, and hope it's enough. So I think this is something that fish need, like interaction with the board, and it could spark another archetype that we don't see currently, and it's really hard to remove with a 6 HP.
Yeah. I don't think it's big enough to be a proper kaiju, which is this is my only complaint with the card. I think the card's great. Or it could be really interesting. No, we need big monsters. Big monsters, Grief.
Yeah, Timmy. We'll get
I'm actually
some
a Johnny, really.
We're getting some new kaijus next time. Just cuddle your big koala and let the other kids also play with their more smaller kaiju giant monsters whatsoever. But we'll get there someday. I promise you, really.
Well, Emerald wasn't doing so well. Everyone go vote for Emerald. I'm doing that on my show. Okay, let's talk.
Okay.
Grief, what do you think of this?
This feels like a Magic the Gathering reprint. I don't know if you understand what I mean, but we have a really, like, oh yeah, this is 10 years, this is a 10-year-old card, which was either really good or had seen some play. Now let's reprint it with a little bit higher stats and give it a new point of damage, and maybe it does as well. Yeah, nothing against it, but I don't really have negative points or positive about it. It's another fish card.
Look at that reflection in the water. That's a positive point. Like, that took work and heart and I don't know.
We're not talking about Apros art, which is always really good to look at, but we're talking about the spike fish.
Yeah.
Which is, I like redundancy. Okay, I like redundancy. This is redundancy.
Yeah. Okay. So, Sealed by Blood is a 3-drop strength action from the Aquarian sect. Something that hasn't seen a lot of love recently. Could have been from Duskmere. Who cares? They're both red. Deal 4 damage to both players. I hear Grief salivating over the webcam. You may destroy a friendly unit to return this to hand at the end of the turn. So this is just, I want to take everyone's starting HP and make it lower. And if I'm running a glowstone, I want to take my glowstone and pop them. What else do I want to do with this, Grief? I'll let Grief talk because he's crazy about this archetype.
No, let Cannibals talk. I want.
Okay, he wants to keep doing his villain.
Before I'm taking more of his points.
Cannibals, what do you think of it?
It's very considerate of you. So I picked this because before I had the 4-mana bounce 2 units guy that silenced in hand, but I was once again robbed of the opportunity to talk about it. So I picked this one because it's also from Lord Davenport, who I think is a really cool designer. Has really great ideas, and we have to thank him for the new channel on the Discord, where we discuss just a general archetype or general card design.
The card design discussion was actually his idea.
Right, yeah, that was his idea. So I think this card is kind of cool because it slots into a lot of different archetypes. You can play the themes that it tackles, like the self-damage and the sacrifice, but you can just put it into an aggressive Helden deck and sacrifice your units that you use to block your passive and just go to town and have fun. And when you're that aggressive, like Helm can be sometimes, the damage to yourself just doesn't matter. You don't really need the life point units or and so on. You just are happy that you can deal 8 total or 12 total damage with just one card, basically.
Yeah, you don't need life bond units, but like smoke them if you got them. Like, you know, if you can make this not a downside for you, go ahead. Okay, Grief, your turn.
I love everything about this card, and it will make the lives of people that face aggro so miserable, and I love the sight of it. This is exactly the card that aggro red or aggro burn red actually needed. It's 4 damage to both players. So who cares about self-damage? You have Vampiric Blood Freeze or basic playing a hyper-aggressive deck, which we lack currently because we don't have the unit setup, but who cares? It's more damage. Play Loaded Question Legacy, play Bloody Stream, play this in your Cortez Vampire deck and get rid of your fodder units at willing sacrifice. Who cares about that unit? Put the stats on something else. And yeah, this is so good in so many aspects, and I'm loving it. Please vote this card and do me at least this sadistic favor for the game, because I really want this card.
Yeah, okay, so guys, we have people pushing toward self-damage. Let's make this a thing. This is an archetype people care about. I upvoted this. I don't want against this, but I upvoted this. Because it's interesting. It's an interesting card. I think we're about ready to wrap up. Closing considerations here.
Thanks for the pick, Cannibals.
You're welcome.
So yeah, again, as always, I want to thank my faithful co-host for co-hosting, being on the show, doing good stuff. With or without the mask, still hanging there. It's still our friend. And I want to, of course, give a big thank you to Cannibals for being on the show today. It was great having you. We love Aesthetica and all of your other designs, and just keep being awesome.
Yep, thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we've been running kind of long, so I'm going to wrap this up real quick. Like, comment, and subscribe if you want me to keep doing this, because I'm doing this just for fun. Give me a little bit of personal validation, please. Hope y'all have a great weekend. Keep on playing collective and keep on voting for cards. Bye.
Bye.